What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scratch Agency podcast, hosted by Scratch Agents for Scratch Agents. My name's Stephen Turnbull, founder of T5 Insurance Services in Clinton, New York, and I'm joined by my co-host today, the one and only, you already know, hold your applause, Mr. Shawn Fitzgerald, founder of Sound Harbor Insurance, built for the storm in Long Island, New York. I'll take one of those, baby. Send it
Hey, I'll
on
send
up.
one up your way.
Send it on up. Love
No
it.
problem.
What's
I got
going on?
a T5 socks, a T5 hat. Yeah, I got to send you some stuff. I'm working
Come
on it.
on, baby. Come on with it. Come on. All right. Solo episode, community chats, we'll call these. Had some good
Yeah.
conversations about renewal process. And again, we are nowhere near experts. We're just sharing what works for us, what we found in our Scratch journey. And we're going to keep this to personal lines because commercial is a whole nother beast. And at least for just the short community chats episode we want to talk about, we're going to talk about the renewal process inside of our agencies, at least just general standards of kind of what it looks like and what has worked for us. I can kick us off, Shawn, because I
Yeah,
just kind of
and
want to
just
share what works.
yeah, definitely. I want you to start. I wanted to, somebody posted in the community basically like, hey, when and how are you proactively reaching out? How are you determining which policies to reshop and what has worked and not worked for you? So
Mhm.
if you
You
could
know what?
touch on those, that'd be great.
I want to point people in the direction. Bradley Flowers put a LinkedIn post out about this a few days ago, and it was actually really good and kind of changed my mindset. I was happy to see that we were doing something similar to what his mindset was on this, and just that it's not our responsibility, maybe. And again, everybody's going to view this differently, but he was talking about something along the lines of it's not our responsibility as agents to necessarily reshop every renewal, but there should be some form of looking at it, touching it, reaching out, whatever it might be. And that's the difference. That is, in my mind, the value. And so that's why we've set up a T5 what this looks like that we'll talk about. And I loved how he positioned it as you don't want to be shopping out every single one, but there should be some form of checking in, making sure things look
For
good.
sure.
And so we kind of, our renewal process is really built around the renewal audit. And so what happens is for at least a contact inside of T5 in the CRM, whenever the renewal comes up 60 days before the renewal, they get an automated email that says, it's like, hey, your insurance policy's coming up. Have things changed? And one
Yes.
thing that we found
Same
success
thing.
in is like bullet pointing what those things might be, because
Yeah.
obviously if you just send, hey, Bob, your renewal's coming up, did things change? They're gonna be like, nope, everything's good. But they maybe forgot about the addition they put on 6 months ago, forgot about the upcoming car, the teenage driver, whatever. It's a very basic email template that goes to them that just says, Bob, your renewal's coming up. At T5, we like to be proactive ahead of this. Has anything changed in your life that we should know about? And then it just has literally bullet points. Are you looking at any new property? Did you make any changes to your property? Any additions? Do you have any new drivers in the household we should know about? Any new cars coming up? Did you have a
Do
baby?
you
All of these things that are bullet pointed so it can kind of hit them to be like, oh, shoot, that did happen.
like that? Do you have only because we do a survey, like it's an electronic form, but I noticed very small amount of people ever do it. Do you find some people reply to that?
I would say we get 20 to 25% of people reply
That's a
to it.
good, yeah.
So
I should
much that
think of maybe, I
recently,
should think of maybe removing the form.
yeah, so much that I've recently transferred over. I mean, and again, these are things that you set up a Scratch agency, like it was all coming to me. And then I was
Yeah,
like, hold on, why am I doing this? And so we
yeah,
got
yeah.
Jasmine and Calendly set up to do all of those and break it up a little bit because I was realizing we were getting so much response to them. But I will say, so about 20%, which I think is high response. And I will say of that, probably 50% is, hey, Stephen, thanks for reaching out. Nothing's changed on our end. Now, think of the consumer that, like, first off, most of them don't know it's automated. Whether they do or not is besides the point. But it's at least another touch point, right?
For sure.
And so I would say probably half of the people actually have something, or they're just curious what's the renewal. And so what in that email, it has them book a time on the calendar to do that. 90% of the time, by the time they book that appointment, the renewals haven't even downloaded yet. So that call is really just like a 5-minute call that's like, hey, how's things been? Hope everything's well. And then they're probably like, what's the renewal look like? Actually, we haven't got it yet at T5. This is why we do this ahead of time to make sure. What I'm going to do is put a note in the system that we had this conversation. And if anything comes up that you need to know about, we'll let you know. If not, if you don't have any other questions, we're good to go. Most of the time it ends there. And so that's like the first touch point. Then from there, what happens is when the renewal is downloaded into Hawksoft and comes through, it's,
Can I stop you there real quick?
yeah,
I'm sorry, just because I don't want to gloss over that point, just 'cause I think it's a really important spot to talk on real quick, is the why I think, and I'm with you and I do the same thing, having that automated touch point go out, whatever, 45, 60 days prior to renewal on personal lines accounts. Because the last thing you want is somebody saying,
100%.
I
I'm right
haven't
in front
heard
of this.
from you in 2 years and my rate went up 20%. You clearly don't care about me. That's what they're going to think. But if you have the automation going out every year, 60 days prior to renewal, saying, hey, has anything changes? If you'd like to review, book a call with us here. It shows we're being proactive and that we didn't forget about them.
Yeah. And I
So
forgot to
I'm with you
mention
on
there's a
that.
text message too. There's a
Yes,
text message, but the text message is not all of that. Obviously, the text message is just, hey, we sent you a renewal about, or an email about your upcoming renewal. Take a look at it when
I
you get
like
a
that.
chance. So it
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
just
good.
pushes them to the bigger information. I was just going to say something that you hit
Sorry,
on.
Hawksoft.
Hawksoft. Okay, so when the renewal downloads to the company, and with the companies that we work with, I would say 30 to 45 days is that window. Personal lines, remember, we're talking. When it downloads, there's an automation inside of Hawksoft that you can specifically assign a user. So Emmanuel, our virtual employee, does all the renewal audits, right? So this is kind of all part of our renewal process. But in that renewal audit, he gets the download. So that download comes through on Monday. That's 45 days out from the renewal. He gets the download to see, geez, they went up 35%. Let's reshop this, or what changed, or let me look into it. Oh, he got 2 new cars last year. That's why it's different. So Manual basically has a checklist of saying, when I look at the renewal, I got to hit this, and this. So a few things are on that. In the hard market, we weren't shopping anything that wasn't 20%. We've now moved that down to about 18, depending on the carrier. But we also have like internal communications of like, if we have package business here and this makes sense, but wait to audit the whole thing until auto, home, and umbrella come through, right? Because if home went
Yeah,
up 15%, but auto moved 3, we know that's still the best spot. So there's those internal documented processes. But the one thing too on there is if it's a monoline account, which all of us try not to write, but we still write them. Let's just be honest. If it's a monoline account, then he tasks Jasmine to reach out to them about that other piece of business. And again, this is all hopefully happening about 45 days out from the renewal. So let's look at Bob, who we just have a homeowner's policy for. Bob's getting that. Has things changed? Then Bob's getting the, hey, we're doing your renewal audit. And we specifically say that to the customers. We're doing your renewal audit and we notice we don't have your auto. Would you like us to take a look at that? And that's when we're trying to round that account. And it's all happening at least 30 to 45 days out from the renewal.
let's go. Can I just, I want to just learn a little bit more about that. So I love the idea of having the checklist for the remote virtual whatever whoever does it in
Yeah,
your office,
the
having
person
that
auditing.
checklist. Hey, when the renewal comes up, these are the 4 things you should look out for, and if it's X, then this is what you need to do. If it's Y, this is what you need to do. Like having like a decision tree on that. I think that's a great idea. What do you guys do before we move to the next part? What do you guys do as far as, because on homeowners, for instance, it happens a lot. If it's mortgagee billed, is there anything like specific you do mortgagee bill versus direct bill to the insured, or is it the same?
Emmanuel does task himself for the due date of the mortgagee to make sure they paid it.
Okay, so
And
it'll
that's
just be like a
part of the
follow up, so they don't just get a cancellation and get pissed off.
correct. But that's
Okay,
so there's nothing, I'm just trying to make sure I understand your question right. So there's nothing that's like ahead of time that we're saying, hey, this is mortgagee bill, make sure that you know they're doing it, because hopefully we've caught that and 90% of the time we don't have problems. If Emmanuel during that renewal audit, that's one of his checklists to see how is the payment set up. Because we only do EFT monthly or paid in full or mortgagee billed, 3
yes,
options.
yes,
So if it's not recurring, he'll make a task for either to make sure the mortgagee paid it or to make sure that the client paid it in full, usually on the
gotcha.
due date.
Yeah, that's kind of what we did is we just added that checklist item of, hey, make sure the bill is paid by the state. So they're just following up with it. And if they don't see it paid by the state, they reach out so they don't get that cancel letter that freaks them out.
Yeah, and I can hear some people, excuse me, I can hear some people saying like, "Ah, that's a couple extra steps or whatever." Think about if a manual, if you create it into that renewal process, this is my thought on it. If you create it into that renewal process, he's already inside of the client and potentially probably already inside of the carrier file, right, on the carrier website or whatever. So you can already see that and just simply make himself one task to follow up on it versus it goes in cancellation, client calls pissed off, we get a cancellation notice, have to go through that whole process, call them,
It's
have
way
to
more
rush the
work.
payment.
It's
It's so
actually way
much
more
easier to do
work.
it on the upfront.
Yes, it's way more work if you wait and then it's on cancellation and then people are pissed off and they don't even know why they're canceling. They think their mortgage company tells them, hey, your agent never sent us proof of the coverage, makes us look bad. Yeah, just do it up front. That's my
One
recommendation.
other thing that I forgot, and I'll just be honest, I'm just looking at our documented renewal process to go through
Yeah.
these. One other thing that I forgot that is good too is during that renewal call,
Mhm.
we'll verify all contact information, and then if they say everything's great, we've been happy with you, blah blah blah, ask for the Google review. So those two things. So
Mhm.
because sometimes if you have husband and wife and when you're just trying to quote the policy and sell it for a new home or whatever, maybe you're not getting other spouses' email and phone information. We try to. Does it happen all the time? No. So like just verifying, hey, are these still the correct emails for you? Hey, Sandy, what about Bob's email address? We just want to have that in the file. So like making that more of like value driven, that we're just trying to get everything ahead of time. So what it does is it completely removes the conversation of how much is my renewal going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It also
Then
gives
obviously,
you a chance to like that 45 days or 60 days prior. What I found that is super helpful, and I actually got this from the commercial side of things, but I do it on personal now as well, is like, let's say it is 45 days prior and you don't have the renewal yet, but you know that their carrier is having a 20% rate increase or whatever, you can warm them up to it. Hey, we
yes.
don't have the renewal yet, but this is what we've been seeing. Everyone's rates have been going up. This carrier's taken a rate increase, so I'm assuming you're going to have one. We're already going out to market for you, looking for better pricing and coverage. So I just wanted to make sure you had that update, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. And one other thing too that Emmanuel's doing during the renewal audit is checking for policy weaknesses and making sure things are still in line with agency standards. And then
That's good.
if there's gaps there, then Jasmine will reach out to them to discuss that. If they decline it, water back
When
or
he's done
whatever.
with the checklist, he sends it to Jasmine,
If
or is
he's
it
done and there's no action, he just completes it himself.
he just completes it himself? Okay,
If there's parts that need to be communicated to the client, it's being sent to her. And then
cool.
there's one last thing on that I wanted to say. The other thing that I think is important too to talk about during that renewal call, if you have that much time ahead of it, is explaining, because look, all the consumers just think like, oh, I got to shop every year, blah blah blah. Well, explaining like, hey, this carrier is really good with the type of home you have, the type of auto that you have. If we were to move it, I'm just thinking of things off the top of my mind. They'll do another inspection. Most people don't like that. They'll do
Exactly.
another inspection. They'll do another. We have one carrier that does a welcome call that everybody hates, but they do this like phone interview, basically making sure that all the information that we gave them is correct and that they don't find anything, drivers and households, whatever. But like
Oh yeah,
people
I
hate
know what
that.
carrier you're
Hey,
talking about.
if we have to move these, like these are things that might happen. Most of the time,
Yeah.
people will take that 10% increase to just keep things the same and not have
For
to
sure. That's a great point. And
deal
then
with that.
yeah, I make it a point to do the same thing. It's like, hey, we did go out to market and we do have a couple carriers that are like $200-300 less, but this is what you're gonna have to deal with to do the switch. I don't know if that's something you really want to go through.
The last thing, and then we'll move on to yours that I just want to stress that we
Nah,
already
ours is
talked about.
basically the same, so let's just keep this rolling.
But to stress, I think it's very important to use the verbiage with the client of we are doing your renewal audit. I think it just stresses to them like we have our hands on it, whether this is still the best place or not,
Yeah,
whether there was a drastic increase or not, we're still looking at it. And I know that like from the Facebook groups in our community and whatever, there's people on either side of the aisle. You should look at every renewal. You shouldn't. I feel with the technology and the automation and everything in the management system we talked about, it's not that much work and it'll help increase the retention down the line.
I agree. I agree. The fact that you can build out, I mean, I think the biggest thing too is like writing out what you want your renewal process to look like specifically for your agency, right? Because every
Hmm.
agency is going to be, like we have a lot of agency build stuff. So how do you handle that versus direct bill?
Hmm.
The chances are those two things are going to look completely different from a renewal standpoint. So yeah, write out what you want it to look like and then implement that into your CRM so you're able to track everything and create checklists based off each stage
And
of
something that
your.
you brushed over that's extremely important in this too is the decision tree. If this
Yeah,
is what's happening, these are your steps. And one thing we didn't talk about. So, okay, let's go back to Bob. Okay. So Bob has a 35% increase. A manual will flag that as something that needs to be shopped out if it didn't hit this, and this. He will then proactively shop it out and then send it to myself or Jasmine to say, hey, here's where we currently are. Travelers is better. This is what the breakdown is, and then we can communicate, hey, to the client that we got to move because of this and this. So there's like are we staying? Are all those checklists is good? Are we moving? Why are we moving? What does it look like? And all of that's kind of done on the back end.
yeah, I
Not
have to do a
kind of,
better
it is.
job of yeah, I have to do a better job of actually drawing that out. But yeah, no, it's a good point. If it's yes, do this. If it's no, do this. It's the same thing with like the phone scripts related to the renewal. Like, hey, this is what a conversation should look like. If they say this, do this. If they say this, do that. Um, so yeah, no, I'm glad you did bring that up because it's something I need to. Like you said at the beginning of this, like I'm definitely not perfect renewal process. I definitely need to work on a little bit. But yeah, man, I mean, our process is really similar. I mean, the only thing that I feel like we're doing differently, and I'm just looking at mine, the reshopping, just to answer the question of like what worked, what didn't work. I feel like what didn't work, and it could just be where we didn't do it the right way, is like reaching out to every client manual, like not with automation. And I feel like it just caused too many issues is the best way I can explain it. Having the automation and everyone is delivered the same exact message, the same exact way, I think is just received better, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's just because we did a call initially. Like initially, we just tried to call every single person, and it was just a little messy. So yeah, I think the automation is like the way to go for sure, especially if you have a CRM that can do it. So it didn't
We have
work
to
for us
remember,
is
not
figuring out
everybody's
manually
going to
do
want
it.
to hear from you.
Very true. Yeah.
So I think that's the difference with the call. Like, yeah, on paper, it sounds great that we're going to call every renewal. 50%
Yeah.
of them are probably going to be voicemails that you're never going to get a return call for. But again, you go back to the conversation of I never heard from you in 3 years. You don't even care about me, whatever. Like this eliminates all that. You're putting the ball in their court to book a meeting with you or reply. And again, if you do it in the sense that we do it of setting everything up of here's some examples of things that have changed. Have they changed for you? It's not impossible for them to answer that or think about that.
Very true. Yeah, so the only other thing we add is like we have a tag for non-renewals. That happens more down here in coastal Long Island. If we have a carrier backing out of the market or whatever, they're just not writing in this area anymore, we have a non-renewal tag, and that basically sets off separate automation and it creates a trigger to like reach out to them via phone call as well, just to
Yeah.
let them know, hey, it's being non-renewed. We're proactively looking into this for you. But man, besides that, I mean, we basically have a um, very similar process. I just use this. I have like a survey form, like I said earlier. I do think I might try to switch that because literally, I would say almost nobody responds to it. So it might be better to just have it bullet point. So it's just, they don't have to click a link to then see what they need to update us on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just tying this into our last solo that we did on meetings too, but like this is also like there's a pipeline in the service center for the renewals. So
Mm,
Emmanuel's bringing that through. When that 60-day email hits, the deal card gets generated in the service center under that, and then Emmanuel moves it through the process of audit done, remarket in
yes.
process, um, issue, whatever. And there's different automations internally. None of that is external for that process. But then that's tying it back to the meetings. That's one piece of the weekly meeting service report of like, hey, we had this person, we had to move them here. And I think that's key in talking out loud as a team about that too, because then you can start to maybe see trends, right? Hey, we've moved 3
Yeah.
travelers policies because are they becoming non-competitive, whatever it is. And I'm not talking about travelers, just using an example. But yeah, the key is writing it down,
Yeah,
writing down the
100%.
process, and then
Yeah, and I think
how are you gonna backfill it?
yeah, yeah, and I would say, a trap. I think I've fallen, just putting myself in the hot seat because we all started the same way, just us in the office. I am so used to making changes without like talking to other people about it, and that's one thing over the last like 2 years I've had to definitely like improve on. It's okay, hey, before I just jump in and make this change, let's actually have a meeting about it and see what the team thinks. Don't
Mhm.
just go to the team and be like, hey, all right, this is our new renewal process. We're taking this out, this out, this out, and putting this in, this in, this in. People are,
Because
you know,
chances are when you set that, if you're having that meeting, you're not the one doing it anymore. So why are you the one dictating how it should go? I think that's key.
yeah, yeah. But also, too, you should involve your team because change isn't easy. And chances are their input is going to be super helpful to the conversation. So,
Yep.
I think we're just so used to doing it ourselves and being quick that I mean, for me anyway, I just forgot sometimes. It's like, oh man, I should consult the team instead of just making this knee jerk reaction before talking to anybody, you know?
Right. Right.
But that's all I got.
Love it. Everybody, that's another episode of the Scratch Agency podcast. Thanks for joining us. We got a few cool announcements coming down the pipeline, so stay close for the next couple of weeks. There's a little teaser, a little hint, a little
Yep.
something up our sleeves. Shawn doesn't have sleeves on today, but look at those biceps. He's got sleeves
Oh,
on. They're popping out at me on the camera. But check us out on the Telegram. Again, this episode came just out of the community conversation. So scratchagencypodcast.com. Join the community, free community, almost 90 people in there. Great conversations. And we talk about it all the time. There's people in there that are on the top step of the escalator, and there's people in there that are just getting on the bottom. And there's so much value across the entire board. Make sure to check out the show, subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Apple, all that good stuff. Most importantly, remember to dig down deep, believe in yourself, and own your own future. We'll see you next week. Take care.